We thought we won. The last piece landed on the final square, and everything stopped. The whispering, the shaking board, even the attic light that had been flickering the whole time suddenly stayed still. For a few seconds, none of us said anything. Then Jake laughed. Dude, that's it. He leaned back against an old storage box and wiped sweat from his forehead. That's the creepy game your grandma kept locked in the attic. Mark nudged the board with his finger. Nothing happened. No moving pieces and no whispering voices. Just an old wooden board sitting in the middle of a dusty attic floor. I finally let out a breath. I guess we beat it. Jake grinned. Yeah, demon game defeated. He reached forward and flicked one of the pieces over. That's when the attic door slammed shut. The sound echoed through the house like a gunshot. All three of us jumped as Jake stared at the door. Okay, which one of you did that? None of us answered because we were all sitting in the middle of the attic, nowhere near the door. Then the board creaked, a slow and dry wooden sound. We all looked down, and one of the pieces had just moved. She was just a few inches across the board. Mark frowned and asked, "Did someone bump it?" Before I could answer, another piece slid forward, dragging itself across the board like an invisible hand was pushing it. Jake stood up quickly. Nope, I'm done with this. He grabbed the edge of the board to lift it, but it didn't move. It was glued to the floor. Then we heard something strange, a sound coming from downstairs. Footsteps, walking across the kitchen floor. Jake whispered, "Are your parents home?" I shook my head. They're out for the night. As the footsteps stopped, the board moved again. This time, pieces didn't just slide randomly. They moved with purpose. Each piece lined up in a row. 3 of them, carved in the base of each one, were our initials: J, M, and C. Jake leaned down closer. Wait, these weren't there before. Then the first piece moved. Jake's piece. It slid forward onto the next square, and in the exact same moment, Jake stumbled, like someone shoved him from behind. He nearly fell into the attic wall. What the hell? We stared at him. You okay? Mark asked. And Jake rubbed his shoulder. Yeah, it just felt like someone pushed me. Then Mark's piece moved, 1 square to the left, and Mark's body jerked sideways. He slammed straight into a stack of old boxes as dust exploded into the air. Mark groaned. What was that? My stomach dropped and I looked at the board again, then at them. I think... My voice came out quieter than I meant. I think we're the pieces. Neither of them laughed, but at that exact moment, my piece moved. 1 square forward, and my legs started walking on their own. Step by step, I moved forward. I tried to stop, but my body wouldn't listen. My feet carried me straight across the attic floor until I stopped on the other side of the room. The board stopped moving, and Jake looked pale. You're joking, right? Mark shook his head slowly. Move my piece. Jake looked at him like he was insane. Why would I do that? Mark pointed at the board. Just try it. Jake slowly reached down. His hand shook as he touched Mark's piece. He slid it forward, and instantly, Mark lurched forward across the attic. It was like he was being pulled by a rope. He crashed straight into an old wooden chair. As we all stared at each other, the truth settling in. The game wasn't controlling the pieces anymore. It was controlling us. Then the board changed again. The squares weren't blank wood anymore, as pictures began appearing inside them. Small carved images. The attic stairs, the hallways, the kitchen. Jake stepped back. Those are rooms in your house. The next square appeared, the front door, then the last one outside. Mark swallowed hard. I think we're supposed to move through the house. Jake looked back at the board. But who's playing? The attic light flickered again, and the air suddenly felt colder. And one more piece appeared on the board. A fourth one. Taller. Darker. Carved with horns. None of us touched it, but it moved. One square closer to ours. And as downstairs something slammed against the wall. Hard. The footsteps started again, but this time they weren't slow. They were running up the stairs. Jake whispered, "Guys." The attic door began to turn slowly as the demon piece slid forward on the board. And at that exact same time, something slammed against the attic door from the other side. The board scratched across the floor. New words carved themselves into the wood. Round 2 has begun.